It didn't happen all at once, though looking back, I sometimes wish it had. A clean break, a single catastrophe, at least would have given me one date to circle in my memory and say, that's when my life came undone. But the truth is, it was slower. A layoff in the spring. Bills stacking in the summer. Rachel leaving by fall because she said she was tired of watching me drown while insisting I was still swimming. By December, I was 36 years old, unemployed, divorced, and standing outside a bank with my worldly possessions stuffed into 3 trash bags. They'd taken the apartment for non-payment. My credit cards were maxed. My phone was 2 weeks from shut-off. I had one asset left, my car. A beat-up 2004 Toyota Camry with more rust than paint and a heater that worked only if you smacked the dash. It became my address. The first night, I parked in the lot of a Walmart 20 miles from downtown Chicago. I'd heard they didn't hassle people too much if you stayed quiet. I laid the back seat flat, shoved bags into the trunk, and curled into myself with 2 coats for blankets. The cold came in waves. It wasn't just the air. It was the metal seeping it into my bones. My breath fogged the windshield, froze into thin lace that glittered in the morning light. I woke stiff with a taste in my mouth like pennies. The worst part wasn't the cold. It was the shame. I sat there watching families push carts full of groceries past my car, and I felt like a ghost haunting the world I used to belong to. I'd once shopped inside that Walmart with Rachel, laughing at the cheap decorations, picking snacks for movie night. Now I was outside, invisible, trying not to be noticed. I told myself it was temporary, just until I got work, just until I found my feet. But jobs didn't call back, and my feet felt like they were stuck in cement. Every night I had to choose. Park in a Walmart lot, risk cops tapping the window, or find some back street where locals might call me in. Either way, I never really slept. I dozed in 30-minute bursts, waking at every crunch of snow, every flash of headlights. I carried a gym bag with my toothbrush, razor, and a stick of deodorant. My salvation was a 24-hour fitness center I still had a prepaid membership for. I'd shower there, brush my teeth, even pretend to work out so no one suspected. The mirror showed a man hollowed out, but at least clean enough to pass. Christmas came. I parked outside the church Rachel and I used to attend. I sat in the lot and listened to muffled carols through stained glass while families filed inside in coats that didn't smell like sweat. I didn't go in. Couldn't. I told myself it was rock bottom. But I would learn rock bottom still has trapdoors. January in Chicago doesn't forgive. The wind comes off the lake like it's carrying knives. That day, I stopped at a library to warm up. I sat in the back, pretending to read newspapers. The truth, I was staring at job listings I had no shot at. Experience required. Stable work history. Who wants a middle-aged man with a resume full of gaps and desperation? A librarian walked past, smiled at me, and said, "Stay as long as you need." I almost cried. The smallest kindnesses cut the deepest when you've been walking around invisible. Nights blurred into survival. Some evenings I'd scrape together change for a McDonald's coffee, just to sit inside for an hour where it was warm. Other nights I'd huddle in the car, my phone screen glowing with old photos of Rachel and me when we were still us. I hated myself for scrolling. I hated her for leaving. I hated everything, but mostly me. One night I saw a man sleeping in the doorway of a pharmacy, wrapped in a blanket so thin it looked like gauze. I wanted to give him my coat, but then I thought, what if I need it more? The selfishness burned, but I kept walking. That night, shame kept me awake more than cold. I started counting the days since I'd lost the apartment. 40, I stopped. Numbers only measured how long I'd been failing. By February, I was sick, cough that rattled, fever that came and went. I wrapped myself tighter, told myself it was nothing. But one night, coughing until my chest hurt, I realized I might not wake up. The thought didn't scare me as much as it should have. I thought about Sophie, my niece in Indiana, the way she'd once drawn me a picture that said, "Uncle Mike is the funniest." I thought about Caleb, my son. I hadn't seen him since the divorce papers. Rachel said it was too confusing for him right now. Maybe she was right, but I pictured him growing up without me and wondered if he'd even remember. The shame became heavier than the cold. I sat in the car, holding the steering wheel like it was the only solid thing left, and thought about ending it. Quick way. Easier than freezing slowly. The thought scared me, and yet also felt like relief. I drove to the church again. Sat in the lot. The cross glowed against the winter night. I stared at it, whispering, "Help me." I didn't know if I meant God, or Rachel, or anyone. A man knocked on my window. Startled, I almost drove off. But he wore a reflective vest and said, "Hey, we've seen you out here a few nights. Are you okay?" I lied, "Just resting." He nodded, but pressed a card into my hand. "Shelter on 12th Street. They won't turn you away. Doors open at 7. I tucked the card into the glove box, telling myself I didn't need it. Pride again. That night the fever broke me. I sweated, shivered, coughed until spots danced in my vision. At 6:30 the next evening, I drove to 12th Street. For the first time in months, I walked inside somewhere with no plan to leave quickly. The shelter wasn't paradise. The cots were thin, the air sour with too many unwashed bodies. But it was warm, and when I lay down, I slept more than an hour straight. That sleep saved me. The shelter staff helped me apply for assistance. They gave me forms, appointments, phone numbers. It was humiliating, but it was also survival. I got food stamps. I got on a list for transitional housing. A volunteer named James sat with me one morning over weak coffee. "You're not broken," he said. "You're bruised. Bruises heal if you let people tend them." I almost laughed, but something about the way he said it lodged in me. With their help, I landed part-time work stocking shelves at a grocery store. It wasn't much, but it was a paycheck. Enough to buy fresh socks, a razor, soap that smelled like something other than despair. In April, I moved into a tiny room in a halfway house. For walls, a bed, a lock on the door. The first night, I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to silence that wasn't car doors slamming or cops tapping windows. I whispered, "Thank you," to no one in particular. I reconnected with Caleb through supervised visits at first. The first time he saw me, he was shy, hiding behind Rachel's leg. But then he ran into my arms and said, "Daddy, you smell better." We laughed, awkward and real. I'm not fixed. I still flinch when I see people sleeping in cars because I know that smell, that cold, that shame. I carry it like a scar. But I also carry the knowledge that survival is possible. That even in the dead of winter, someone can hand you a card and change your direction. The Camry finally died that spring. I sold it for scrap. The man who bought it asked if it had been good to me. I thought about the nights it had kept me barely alive, the mornings it had carried me forward when I wanted to quit. "Yeah," I said, "better than I deserved."